I have a problem with being professional. I'm not sure what it is, but for some reason, as soon as I see a video where someone seems too constructed, too formal, too corporate, I feel absolutely no relation to their position whatsoever. And therefore, the message breaks down mid communication. As soon as I see something, say on LinkedIn, where someone is, with a full on setup in a full suit and with an extremely corporate background, office, backdrop, etc., I start to look up to the video as opposed to look equal to the video. It's a bit like the semantics of witnessing a company move and you are just a person. All of a sudden, you notice the differences in scale. You're just this individual who is just, going through social media feeds, and all of a sudden you see this video of someone who's looking very corporate, and all of a sudden their professionalism somehow makes you dissociate from the intention. In a world where we have, DTC brands, direct-to-consumer brands, we have B2C brands that are trying to cater to the public. The thing is, the public isn't exactly professional. So how is it that you can create a professional company-like relationship, yet still be friendly to your customers? And I've seen some people handle this very, very well, where you have a face to the name of the company. You have for example, an independent writer or an independent journalist. They don't put their face up front, but they do put a brand name, which helps dissociate them from their actual personal identity and all that, which, is a valid advantage. But their messaging, their communication, how they handle themselves on social media, you can tell just from their tone, their semantics, that it's as if you're talking to a person. That's the biggest one. The biggest one is that I'm not looking at a gray slate building. I'm looking at a person who will shake my hand when I'm talking to them about it. And this is where becoming professional is starting to become a problem for me, or like an issue. Maybe that's a little bit too strong. I'd say a challenge. Maybe that's better. So I've been trying to explore the notion of becoming professionally informal. Now, a little bit about me. I'm part of a co-founder of a podcast company here in Malaysia, and we have lots and lots of calls with people who are interested in starting a show, brands or companies coming up to us and being like, hey, what's happening in podcasting in Asia, etc. And I'm in this exact setup. I'm talking to them right now, and I'm giving them the lowdown on stats and metrics and predictions on what to do, how to position yourself as a podcaster, etc. So that conversation in itself is very professional by that context, according to the goals, according to the outcomes, according to the intentions from both parties. I'm trying to be useful to you, and you are trying to get something out of our conversation with us. That's an example. Or if I was to give a keynote and I'd be showing my slides, or, I take my slides are a little bit different. I take notes and I show those notes raw on screen. That requires me to be presenting myself in front of a whole crowd. And I, push that out, and people will be talking to me, etc. And we'd be having a great keynote or performance together, that sort of thing. It's very performative, and that really helps with the professional look. But to be professionally informal, it feels like something that I've been, shall we say, harnessing that state of being professionally informal for a very long time. I mean, look at my background. This is my bedroom. I'm not going to lie. This isn't a fake background thing. This is this is an actual, this is this is where I sleep, right? This is where I put all my stuff. These are all the things that I've collected back when I was in uni, and I had an obsession with penguins. So I had that big guy's called Fat Ricky, or Big Ricky rather. And then this is actually a music box penguin. Well, let me show you. So it's like a mama penguin, right? And then there's a baby penguin, and then you pull. Isn't it beautiful? And yeah, I also have cross section of vehicles in Star Wars Episode 1. And I also have limited edition Funko Pops up there. There's the Stanley one when he visited Supernova in Australia in a couple of years ago, and some Pokemon stuff and Mr. Krabs, and also Doraemon in the corner, like, which is apparently is like a KFC logo in there. Like, that's not professional at all. You would not see this in like a Deloitte Consulting Big Four office. You would not see that. I'm pretty sure the CEO of such a big company wouldn't be having like their Yu-Gi-Oh deck on public display in front of them. Like, there's nothing intimidating about that. It's like irrelevant. There's no resonance at all, and it just defeats the context. But I guess in a world where, you know, a pandemic is about and we're doing Zoom calls all the time, there's this humane element behind being able to see the backdrop of someone who is just living their life in their house. Of course, it's sort of like a necessity because we're now working from home. But what this helps with, and I think I've noticed this a lot better now, minus the people that I've been meeting with in person, we normally try to put up a front when we go to someone's office. Of course, it's professional, right? To be professional is to create an impressionable impression so as to make things as efficient as possible to get to our supposed outcome. Because there are risks involved, normally financial, normally time-related, etc. But in a world where we're now doing a lot of things on Zoom and you just can't help but have stuff in the background, people are having their calls in kitchens. People are having their calls in the living room. And sometimes their kids will come in. Sometimes their dogs start barking and all that stuff. And for me, I have to do all this like in this room. So it's not like I can just move my bed. Like, I can't. So I just embraced it. I just thought, okay, why not just decorate everything around me so that, yes, this is where I sleep, but my humane side will not be muted for the sake of a professional context. I would rather show you who I am as a person through my backdrop, even if they are all nonverbal, so as to give you a memorable impression. It may not be the best impression, but it will be a very memorable one. And there's nothing stronger than finding ways to keep someone to memory, because that would maybe serve you later on in life in terms of just keeping in touch with people, friendships, business relations, your proximity. Most of the time, your proximity is your lifeblood for anything that you do, whether it's your career, whether it's your dreams, whether it's just finding a way to increase the net from which you can capture things like muses, opportunities, etc. Most of the time, it's just through someone else who just remembers that you have this dumb giant penguin in the corner. Is like, oh yeah, this guy does podcasting. I forgot. Why don't I just like refer him to someone I know, etc. And that can work. And that has led to some interesting conversations, and they remember me for that. Like, that's just way better. So I really advocate for being professionally informal. So like some advantages would be to have that better impression. Another one is that relatability helps better with resonating with the audience of your intent, depending on your service or your work or your mission. People just believe humans better than companies. It's kind of hard to go against that. So why not make yourself a lot more human by showing your interests behind you? And that's why we have streamers with amazing Twitch setups, and they're showing all of their, figures and favorite memorabilia and stuff like that, and their hobbies. Like, I'm gonna be moving to another place soon, and hopefully I can have bookshelves showing all the books that I've read and the ones that I wrote margins in, notes in the margins rather, in the corner. I think that'll be pretty sick. So, I'm just waiting on that. Some of the disadvantages, of course, is that you will potentially be irrelevant to companies that are very strict in the professional acumen when it comes to meeting with someone. Would it turn someone off, for example, if I'm just showing Doraemon in the corner and then I'm meeting someone who is like extremely, like a hedge fund or an institutional fund? Like they, I'm assuming, I've never had a call with a hedge fund before, unless they want to have a podcast for their institutional funds. That'd be pretty cool, I think. Probably internal B2B private feed, but that's a whole other story. But would it be too distracting if I have all of this stuff behind me? Would it be too irrelevant? Would it be too much of a distraction? Would it be too strange? Would it put someone off that someone who was just going through this conversation is going like, oh, I just want to go in, talk about it, and then get out? But that could be a potential disadvantage depending on your targets. Would you want to be with someone who is just trying to bear with the fact that you have a very strange backdrop? Then maybe the conversation may lead to something a little bit, I don't want to say toxic, but like negative, or it will leave you in bad taste. So, yeah. So all in all, I have a feeling that the future of being professional online will be broken. It will be extremely fragmented. The number of participants in general, small economies for specific markets, will cater towards more humane companies that have a face, that have human, almost irrelevant off-topic connections with regards to their mission and the purpose of their conversations. The people that you would want to consult with or coach with, you would know them more for their potentially private lives or their hobbies and their interests, etc., which add to the semantics and builds up the density of the context from which you're talking to them about what you're meant to be talking to them. So, like, someone who loves Star Wars would see that and be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Holy crap. Like, I want to talk to you more now. Like, it doesn't have to be about podcasting, but it can be. That could be the primary. But then the secondary could be something that you see in the background. And also your professional informality, is that a word? I don't know, can be seen in all of your tweets, your blog posts, your articles, your videos, your podcasts. How hard do you laugh as a guest on another episode? How do you conduct yourself when you're giving keynotes? Do you swear on fireside chats? Some people do. That'd be pretty awesome. I'm not at that position yet. I feel like I would if I'm comfortable enough, because I normally swear a lot in real life anyway. And also on tweets, like, how off topic are you? Like, I'm very known for being very inconsistent on Twitter, because people follow me for like podcasting stuff, but I talk about other things like love and intimacy and crypto and also Japanese and on note taking or whatever it is. But therein comes the questions that you have to ask yourself in a position where your only window or your only channel for getting to know somebody or for someone to get to know you is digital. How do you make the most out of your physical environment to create a physical impression through a digital channel? And once that is articulated really, really well, therein comes the fine-tunings of that answer so that it becomes a viable channel to bring people to whatever you want them to do. Whether it's, hey, watch my YouTube videos, or hey, listen to my podcast, or hey, I have these services. Would you be interested, right? Would you want like, for example, I do like memory coaching. Would you want a coach to be more adamant about showing their interests and how they remember things? Does that add to the intended context of me being a viable memory coach? That's one example, right? Or for podcasting, would you want to trust someone with more microphones in the background than zero microphones, right? Or would you want to trust someone who doesn't even have a microphone for when they're recording a video? That's a potential question. Some people might be like, ew, oh my God, Blue Yeti, what? And something like that, So there is this professionalism that needs to be addressed. And I feel like, yes, there is a place for pure professionalism, but then there's also a place for different synonyms of professionalism. Professionally human, professionally informal, professionally cool, professionally warm, professionally lovely, professionally friendly. Being so good at being friendly that people forget that you are a business, you are sustaining yourself, you're putting food on the table. You forget. And that's how powerful impressions can be. So, yeah, hopefully that would make you think about how you present yourself online, whether you would, incur or manifest this level of radical honesty on the internet. I try my best to. I'm probably like maybe 90% honest online. The only some parts is probably something that's just, maybe just inappropriate in general. And I just wouldn't want that online. And that's okay. These are viable decisions. These are definitely valid decisions, rather. So what do you think? Would you be more professionally informal? Would you still stay professional? Or would you have this constructed impression and make sure that everybody thinks of you that way only? And I think that speaks to some level of anonymous or pseudonymous identities But I think I can talk about that in another video. So, yeah, take care.